All right, hello everyone. My name is Jim Ruttler and I'm co-founder of Aithre. We have put together a webinar today to review the Aithre auction systems that are available. We get a lot of questions about um, what the differences are between the turbo and the AVI and the on-demand and the maker and the hybrid of the hybrid type systems. And so I thought we could spend a short period of time just reviewing the technical overview of the different systems so that it makes it easier for you to navigate the options and choose a system that works best for your mission and your aircraft. So I'm going to begin by sharing my presentation screen. Here, bear with me. And okay, so Aithre auction systems. We're going to be talking about options, functionality, limitations, installation requirements for both the AVI bottled and the turbo concentrator systems. So really, what are the auction system options? Well, we have three: the AVI, the turbo, and the hybrid. The AVI is your 1, 2, 4, and 6 place pulse demand auction system. It can be either portable or installed. We have both options for experimental aircraft or Part 23. The turbo is the oxygen maker, the concentrator only type systems, or the hybrid concentrator with the oxygen bottle systems, which we'll talk more about. We have a 1, 2, and 4 place turbo oxygen concentrator system, both portable and installed. Although the portable only comes in a 1 or 2 place portable solution, which you could purchase 2 for a 4 place, but the installed versions are both 1, 2, and 4 place options installed. Experimental aircraft or Part 23 approved. And then there's the hybrid, which oftentimes due to power and space limitations, people will combine one turbo for the front 2 seats of the aircraft and an AVI system for the back 2 seats, or a turbo for the front 2 seats and then continuous flow for the back 2 seats. So those are options as well that we'll talk through. All right, the AVI pulse demand systems, how do they work? We've got, the principle is that they conserve the oxygen out of a bottle. Typical traditional systems, continuous flow would flow oxygen regardless of whether or not you were inhaling or not, whereas the AVI will detect your inhalation, deliver the appropriate oxygen for the altitude that you're at, and based on your respiration rate. And we'll just pulse out the oxygen during the critical inhalation period and not deliver any oxygen during exhalation or during non-critical periods of the inhalation period. Typically in the first third of the inhalation cycle is where you're going to get your oxygen delivered during that period of time. And so because it's not delivering oxygen continuously, you can extend the life of the bottle, and typically 4 to 8 times that compared to continuous flow. The portable options that we've got for the AVI systems are one. We just have the AVI Mini. In the past, we had the AVI 8, which is a 2 place system, but we no longer produce the AVI 8. It's only the AVI Mini, which is a very small 1 place unit. And it can be combined up to 2, 3, 4 places, but each unit is physically separate. I'll go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here, or my camera phone, and I'm going to show you an example of the AVI Mini. So here is AVI 8, or I'm sorry, the AVI Mini. It has an intake port there on the right, and then it's got a output port, breathing detection cannula plug port on the left, and then a 12-volt DC power cannon plug, which can accept USB power as well. That's it. You can combine these up to 6 stations, and all are usable independently or in combination and can work with the iOS app. Switching back to the presentation mode here. Okay, it looks like I did not pick up that presentation or that picture of the AVI. I'm going to switch back over. It looks like it was still in screen sharing mode. So here is the AVI Mini, and it's got your input port for the high pressure oxygen line incoming, your DC power plug, and your cannula port for one place. And it's very simple, very small. You can combine these again up to 6 stations. Okay, back to the presentation. We've also got the installed options of the AVIs. So we've got an AVI G, which is typically used in gliders. It's a one-place unit, all ship powered here. AVI 24, AVI 64, and AVI 128. 24 is a two-place unit, 64 is a four-place unit, and the 128 is a six-place unit. The AVI G has the exact same footprint or form factor as the AVI Mini that I just showed you. I will go ahead and give you an example of the AVI 24 and the AVI 64. These are the control units. They do the distribution, the pulse demand for each of the stations, either 2, 4, or 6 places. So you can see, let's go ahead and share FaceTime camera. Okay, here is the example of, hang on here. So many cameras, it makes it difficult to figure out which one I'm. Well, I'll just bring it over to me to make it a little bit more seamless. So here is the AVI 24. AVI 24 has a little bit larger of a form factor. It's about 2.5 depth by 4 by 4. And it's got an incoming port here for the high pressure line and then 2 output ports for each station. 12 volt up to 28 volt power input. And we've got the AVI 64 as an example. It's got the 1 power high pressure oxygen line input as well as 4 output lines for each of the stations. This particular unit is about 8 by 4 by 3 in terms of its form factor depth, all in inches there. Go back to the presentation. Next slide. The turbo oxygen makers. This is where most of the excitement is directed towards the turbo oxygen makers, and we have a few different options. Some of those options have caused confusion, but we're going to clear that up here. So how do they work? They work based on separation of nitrogen from the air and to pass pure oxygen. There's a zeolite columns inside the turbo oxygen maker, and we pressurize the air, flow it through the zeolite mineral, and under a particular flow rate and pressure, it will yield nearly 97% on the high end of oxygen output. On the low end, 93%. Over the course of a couple of years, you'll see that concentration begin to decrease into the 80s. Typically in the air, you've got 20% oxygen, 80% nitrogen. So we're completely reversing that, that ratio, and we're increasing the concentration substantially over what is out there that you're breathing in the atmosphere. We've actually tested a concentration of ABO gas from Norco. And although it's advertised at 95%, we found that typically we're getting 90 to 92% output. So the concentrator is even more effective at providing highly concentrated oxygen than even the ABO gas that you get from your commercial gas suppliers. So it's very effective. We offer both a pure oxygen maker and then a hybrid oxygen maker with a what we call O2I or oxygen injection. It's got both the oxygen maker, and then it allows for enhanced oxygen flow rates at higher altitudes by injecting oxygen off a bottle as it's needed. The portable options that we've got is just one. It's a 2-place portable unit. It has an analog adjustment for the flow rate. And it uses 12 to 14 volts of ship power. The power receptacle is Part 23 approved, and so you can run it off of the ship power in both experimental directly or using Part 23 in our DC cannon plug approved power receptacle that does come with the unit. The installed options of the turbo are three. We've got the turbo digital and the turbo O2i, which comes in either a 2 or a 4-place. So those are the three options: turbo digital 2-place, or turbo O2i 2-place, or turbo O2i 4-place. The turbo digital is just an oxygen maker only. It does not integrate with a separate oxygen bottle to enhance the flow. We'll talk about the limitations on that, but there is a limitation that is due to the total flow rate abilities of the turbo digital and how much volume of oxygen it can output at different altitudes. The turbo O2i, again, is the hybrid. It uses both the oxygen maker and then it has an oxygen bottle. And I'll show you that example here I've got on my desk. Turbo O2i comes in either a 2 or a 4-place. It's the only way you can get a 4-place turbo is to go through the turbo O2i pathway. And there are two different units. They work together to provide oxygen for either the left of the aircraft or the front of the aircraft, however you want to arrange it, in the back or the right of the aircraft. In both the turbo digital and the turbo O2i, the flow adjustment is automatic and digitally controlled. And with the O2i, the difference between the O2i and the digital is only that the O2i includes the integrated oxygen integration, or injection rather. So let me show you an example of the turbo O2i. Got it here on my desk. I'm just going to flip the camera around. There we go. I'm going to turn the camera and show you the turbo O2i here. It looks like, okay, this will work. Here we go. So here we've got, holding the camera in my hand, so let's try to stabilize it. But here's the turbo maker. This is the turbo with oxygen injection. And you can see it's got an oxygen bottle off to the side. This is the oxygen bottle hybrid with the turbo maker O2i system. It comes together. On the top, there is an input for the oxygen high pressure line that comes off the bottle, which you can see being fed here from the oxygen bottle. And then there is an output line, which feeds to the two oxygen ports. So the oxygen maker, the turbo O2i, automatically blends the oxygen that it makes with the oxygen that it sources from the bottle. And the algorithm that it uses to do this is as follows. The default is all maker. It's kind of like the Chevy Volt as a gas and the electric, but it's all electric as much as possible because the oxygen is nearly free and unlimited. So we want to use oxygen out of the maker as much as possible. If you go above 18,000 feet, the oxygen from the bottle kicks in and begins to enhance the flow rate into the cannula ports. Now it happens automatically, and you can monitor it with the health view. There's no need to switch cannula ports between the maker and the bottle. It automatically blends it in the common output. Or you can request it. So that's the other occasion that the injection begins to occur. If you need more oxygen, you can actually turn on the oxygen injection from the health view. And that will take more oxygen off the bottle to enhance the flow rate. Switching back to my camera view. Okay, and back to the presentation here. Okay, the options for the health view. The health view, what is the health view? Health view is the avionics control head. It outputs both the oxygen information, the health parameters, including carbon monoxide, SpO2, and as I said, the turbo and the AVI, the flow rate, respiration rate, parameters that have to do with the oxygen systems. In addition, for the turbo O2i and for the AVI, installed systems, the HealthView acts as the controller um, for dictating the amount, the volume of oxygen that is delivered, the timing of the oxygen, whether or not you're blending the oxygen from the bottle and the maker. And so all of the control happens in the HealthView. In the past, we had the Aithre Connect iOS app, and that was the control head. And we've moved, all the devices continue to be supported by the Aithre Connect iOS app, but the HealthView, especially the HealthView 2, does all of the functionality that was previously found in the iOS app. It does all of that functionality on its own, independent of the iOS app. The iOS app is no longer required with the HealthView 2. HealthView 1 is older, has less functionality, and I'll show you both examples of the HealthView 1 and HealthView 2. And what does that mean? There's much more limited control of the oxygen for the AVI and the turbo systems out of the HealthView 1. It's really default control, and if you wanted to have any like fine tune the oxygen flow rates for individual passengers or bump up the oxygen injection out of the O2I system, it wasn't possible with the HealthView 1 just due to its limited the user interface, but also the memory and just the functionality that was originally put into it. The HealthView 2 is the next generation. It is newer, has more functionality, and it's based on a partnership with Aithre AVI out of Germany, and they're very popular ATD 1157 and 80 hardware control heads. So the HealthView 2 fixes all the problems of HealthView 1, has a completely customizable user interface, draws a lot less power, has better visibility, and is compatible. HealthView 1 was only a 12 and 14 volt compatible system, whereas HealthView 2 is good to 28 volts natively. So what are the options for the HealthView 2? I switch back to the camera. Any luck here, it will allow me to do so without technical problems. Switching back to camera phone. Here we go. All right. So HealthView, these items to the side. We've got HealthView 1, which many are familiar with. It came in either a portrait mode or a landscape mode, which had to be pre-configured here at the Aithre factory. Or now we've got HealthView 2. This is the ATD 57. It is a 2¼ inch round dial. Depth profile is about an inch, and it draws about 5 to 10 milliamps of power. Super efficient, and up to 28 volt inputs. We've got the ATD 11, which is a remote. It looks like a portable option, but it's truly built in. It has the same D-sub connectors on the back as the ATD 57. So it is built to be hardwired, but it has a GoPro style or a camera style 1/4 inch stud on the back, which looks like this, which you can buy on Amazon. 1/4 inch stud with 7mm ball shown here, and many different kind of mount options. In this case, we have it demonstrated with a FANAUE, FANAUE, and a sticky pad. I used the ATD 11 in my RV10 for about a year while we were prototyping. I love this little display. It's got, first off, you can configure it for either landscape or portrait in the field without any involvement by Aithre. It's totally configurable. It's got 9 pages that you can pack in, each page up to 7 variables, which you can choose from up to 60 parameter inputs from any of the Aithre devices that you've got. You can do it in a white background and black background, and you can customize the colors and the warning levels. And in addition to that, it works optionally. You can hook up the ADS-B traffic. No, I'm misstating that. It's not the ADS-B traffic. The AT1 traffic controller from the Aithre Avionics. It's been a while since I mentioned this, but yeah, you can hook up the Yeah, it is ADS-B and FLARM weather and traffic that you can hook up to this unit with the HealthView. The issue is they have this identical hardware called the ACD, comes in the exact same form factors, the 11, which is this one, the 57, which I showed you, and then the 80, which is the 3 and an 1/8 inch dial, a little bit larger screen, but also in the dial instrument. They also have the ACD version and the same measurement parameters, the 11, the 57, and the 80, and that one does comm radio, pressure altimeter, barometric pressure altimeter, and what's the other feature? Let's see, and transponder, which is incredible. So in my RV10, I actually have two of the ATD 57s, and I use one for the health view, and I use the other for radio and pressure altimeter as a third altimeter backup. It's an incredible instrument. I'm super proud to be working with Aithre on that. So let's revert back to the presentation here. Share, window, presentation. Okay. So the installation kits. If buying a Turbo O2i digital or AVI, they typically all include, now you have to check the fine print at the bottom of the listing, but they're pretty comprehensive. We include everything that is needed to keep you safe in the air. So that includes backup standalone oxygen bottles, like the small injection bottle that I showed you with the Turbo O2i that you can put in the seat back, that provides independent oxygen from the AVI and the Turbo, directly continuous flow for another 2 hours of use in the case of electrical failure or system malfunction. That's a ultimate backup. They all include a backup kit. Each of the regulators on all of our AVI and our Turbo O2i systems have two output ports. One of them feeds the Turbo or the AVI, the other feeds a backup line. It bypasses the electronics so you can get to the main bottle for whatever flow rate that you preload on that line, either half a liter, 1 liter, 2 liters a minute. And that can last for many hours of continuous flow backup. So you've got the backup components that come with the kits, the health view, either the one or the two. There is a price difference of $1,000 between the two. We've still got a handful of health view ones, and some people still prefer that form factor. When those are done, we'll continue supporting them, but we'll no longer make the health view one. But it continues to be an option for Healthy 1 or 2. If you choose the 2, you get to choose the default as the 57, which is the 2¼ inch. If you want the 11, which is the remote mount, or the 3 and an 1/8 inch, there's a couple $100 difference in price. But those are included in the kit. The plumbing and fittings are included. The 2 Illyrian oximeters for pilot and co-pilot typically included. Some like the AVI-G, the one-place system, they do not include 2-place. They only include one place for the Illyrian oximeter because it's typically used in a one-place aircraft or glider. Boom cannulas, those are included if you prefer to have the pillow mask as opposed to the popular boom cannulas. We'll swap those out for you, but you get the silicone cannulas as well as the boom cannulas, at least for the pilot and the co-pilot. And carbon monoxide detectors, both the Shield EX3 or the EDOT, depending on whether you're Part 23 or experimental, those are included. And then you get to choose for the AVI systems as well as the Turbo O2i, the different bottle systems. So I'm going to show you a couple of the 3 bottle systems that we've got here, or 4 different bottles. So switching off the screen sharing and going to phone camera. Let's go over here to iPhone camera. We're on it. So here you can see I've laid out 3 of the different bottles. On the right, you've got the 925. In the middle, you've got the 408. And the left, the 152. These are in a common office chair, so quite small and compact. The larger one on the right weighs 15 pounds. The one on the left, 5 pounds. That includes the regulator full. Middle 408 liter is 12 to 13 pounds, I think, off the top of my head, and that's full with the regulator. So if you're doing the AVI systems or the Turbo O2i, you can choose any one of these 3, but all of the Aithre systems work with any aluminum. I'm going to turn off the camera, go back to screen share here. Any aluminum, Kevlar, oxygen bottle. So you're not limited to only using the Aithre oxygen bottles. We do partner with Mountain High to also offer any of their oxygen bottles. And we've got a special regulator if you do that, that we have to equip the systems with, because some of the oxygen bottles that come from Mountain High come with a Sherwood valve, which is your on-off control valve. Ours do not have control valves. They're always on, I think is a safety improvement over the Sherwood type valves. But nonetheless, if you choose a bottle with a Sherwood type valve, which is that black knob, we will have to equip it with a different regulator than you get from Aithre with the blue regulator. So that's a detail that can be worked through depending on the oxygen bottle that you choose. If you choose one of the Aithre oxygen bottles, that comes default with Aithre regulator, and it is equipped to be used with the turbo and the AVI systems natively. All right, functionality. So here's just a table of some of the common functions, just as an overview of what we've discussed. The AVI Mini Portable One-Place On-Demand system is based on bottle oxygen conservation and does not make any oxygen. There's no oxygen hybrid with a bottle, and there's no HealthView integration, although it does work with the Aithre Connect iOS app. You've got the AVI G for installed, the AVI 24 two-place, AVI 64 four-place, AVI 128 six-place. Those are all based on bottle oxygen conservation method, or the bottle oxygen conservation method, the pulse demand method. There's no oxygen maker involved in those, but they do work with the HealthView, both bidirectional output as well as oxygen altitude dosage control. And we've got the turbo systems, the turbo portable digital injection coming here, and we've got the turbo portable works off the maker. It does not work with the HealthView, it's only the iOS. Aithre Connect iOS app allows you to monitor parameters from the portable turbo, including onboard temperature, flow rate, humidity levels, but it does not work with the HealthView. And that makes sense because the installed versions work with the HealthView because the HealthView is wired, whereas all the portable systems just work with the Aithre Connect app. Now, the installed versions also work with the Aithre Connect app, but they also work with the HealthView as well because they have wired connections to it. Now, Turbo Digital, remember this one is your maker only method. It does not do a hybrid maker and does not include an oxygen bottle, although there is one as a backup included in the kit. It just doesn't integrate the flow from the maker and the bottle into one common output flow. It's a separate backup bottle entirely, kind of standalone bottle. It also works with the HealthView, although it's only an output of the turbo information, including flow rate, onboard temperature, and humidity. There's no control because there's nothing to control. It automatically knows the altitude on board the digital, and it outputs the appropriate flow rate for the altitude. In fact, it just pegs the output at a common 1.1 liter a minute at all altitudes up to 18,000 feet. In another webinar, I did discuss how we can bump that up for you to 1.4 liters a minute, and you should watch the turbo operation webinar if you're interested in bumping that flow up. But nonetheless, it works as an output only to the HealthView. Turbo injection is the maker and the hybrid maker oxygen bottle system. It also works with the HealthView and has bidirectional control. That means it's outputting the flow rate, the onboard temperature, the humidity of the turbo, but it also is taking in input from the HealthView, such as do you want more injection coming out of the HealthView or do you want none? You want to set the default for when injection occurs, and those controls feed back to the Turbo O2i. What are the limitations? All right, here's a column on the left is your various systems, the AVI Mini, the AVI G 24, 64, 128, the Turbo Digital and Turbo Injection on the left, and then some of the common limitations, max altitude, Part 23 limits, service life, and oxygen refilling requirements. So as far as max altitude, everything that we make goes up to 18,000 feet. Above that, we do have, as the asterisk indicates, some systems support it, but there's additional training. We call it the high altitude addendum that accompanies all of our instructions. And you're bound by that by using it. And you have to follow the high altitude addendum, and that those impose different equipment requirements, as well as backup requirements and planning requirements and training requirements to go above 18,000 feet. And that's due to the fact that above 18,000 feet, the time of useful consciousness is a mere 3 minutes. And if at even that, and that means that you have to detect the problem, resolve the problem, and be able to descend to an altitude that's safe for flight without oxygen, all in 3 minutes. And it's virtually impossible to do that without proper backup equipment and training. So, and with that in mind, the AVI installed systems, the 124, one place G, 24, 64, and 128, all do support going to 25,000 feet. The turbo digital, because it does not have an oxygen output from the bottle, there's no hybrid, it's dependent only on what it can generate. And its flow rate is capped off at 1.1 out of the factory, and we can bump it to 1.4 liters a minute for you using the software in the Aithre Connect app, as I mentioned. But that means that you can really only support 2 people up to 15 or 1 person up to 18,000 feet. I quickly prepared this presentation. It should say 15,000 for 2 people or 18,000 for 1 person for the turbo digital. Turbo injection, you can go to 25,000 feet. That's fine. That is due to the fact that with the training and equipment, that once the maker reaches its limit of what it can produce, it switches over to the oxygen bottle system and enhances the flow out of the cannula line. And it can support flow rates of more than 5 liters a minute. Yeah, for 1 person. Now, 2 people, you really shouldn't use the hybrid turbo injection above 18,000 for 2 people, just because you're splitting the flow out of the oxygen bottle and it will deplete very quickly if you do that. And it'd be better if you're going to be flying at higher altitudes regularly with more people. That's where you want to look at the AVI system, because it continues to conserve even at higher altitudes. Part 23 limits for all system. For the portable, there's no limit. It's the same technology as all the other stuff, but because it's portable and not attached to directly to the ship power, but rather indirectly using a USB port on the aircraft, there's no limit for part 23. But if you hook it up directly, that means hooking the power up directly to the aircraft power bus, bypassing a USB power source or power receptacle on the aircraft, well, then you are bound by the Part 23 limitations. And we approved everything, got everything approved through NORC, non-required safety enhancing equipment. So it's approved for installation, all Part 23 aircraft, but it requires, there is a limitation on what that NORC can approve, which means that you can't use it where oxygen is legally required. All the systems include a oxygen standalone bottle, keep you legal. You should use that above the altitudes where you're legally required to use oxygen. For experimental, there is no limit. It's the same equipment and continues to work above those altitudes. Service life for bottles, you're going to have a 15-year bottle service life, and you should do the hydrostatic testing every 5 years of the bottle. And turbo digital and the turbo injection, they do also come with a 2-year filter service. So you have to either mail those in. It's about $300 every 2 years plus shipping, or, and we do have an exchange program for about $1,500. You get a factory refurbished exchange of your used turbo core, 0 downtime, and new extended warranty and new tech, whatever that we've developed since then will come with the new equipment. So there is an ongoing expense associated with both of the AVI and the turbo systems. The AVI is lighter on the direct expenses with Aithre, but you're going to fill up with FBOs and commercial gas suppliers, and so there will be expense that's shifted there. Oxygen refilling requirements, you can read through those. I'm sure you have already. The AVI on-demand systems, they all have refilling requirements. As I mentioned, the expenses of those is typically $50 to $300 we've seen in New York. In Europe, typically 200 to 300 euros for an oxygen fill if you can find it. So it's expensive and inconvenient. Turbo digital, no refilling of the oxygen bottle, and turbo injection, no refilling unless you use that injection bottle. Installation requirements. We've got, these are the primary, I mean, there's a lot of installation requirements, and I'm going to show you where you can get more details in the instructions, but these are the ones that always come up for the AVI and the turbo, the power, weight, and the legal requirements. So for the AVI, the power requirements are very low. This is makes them very desirable. 50 milliamps per station. So if you got a 4-station system like an AVI 64, it'd be 200 milliamps total. The Hellview has negligible power draw. It's just 10 to 20 milliamps at 12 to 14 volts, and even less than that at 28 volts. Is very low power draw, and it will not tax your alternator. You can, it's incredible how low the power draw is on the AVI on-demand systems. And that turbo system, because it has a compressor pump, they draw quite a bit more. And for 12 to 14 volts, it's 6 amps, 80 watts. For the turbos are limited right now without a step-down converter to 14 volts and 14-volt aircraft systems, but we are working on a 28-volt variety, which will be out in the next few months. So if, that will save you some money if you want to wait for that, and you have a 28-volt aircraft. Okay, weight. The weight of the turbo is actually less than the AVI, and that is due to the fact that the AVI bottles weigh up to 15 pounds. For the larger 925 liter, even the composite carbon fiber aluminum bottle is very light, but still weighs 15 pounds with the regulator and the oxygen in it. Whereas the turbo is just 6.8 pounds per turbo control unit. Even 2 turbo systems will weigh less than 1 oxygen bottle system. If you pair that up with the ultra compact 47 liter oxygen bottle that comes with the turbo O2i, or you go with the turbo digital and you don't have an oxygen bottle, then it's a very, very lightweight system. So weight-wise, turbo wins. Power-wise, AVI wins. Legal, Part 23, any AMP, both systems equivalent, any AMP can put it in as a minor alteration, does not require inspection authorization, and no Form 337. All right. Experimental, of course, there's no limitation. More resources. Where can you get more? Website, aithreaviation.com. I'm going to show you, of course, the instruction manuals and the published webinars where those are at. Our phone number, direct line 208-481-8310. And then my email, jim@aithreaviation.com. I'm going to stop sharing and share my whole screen here. Okay, so if you come over to aithreaviation.com, you go navigate to here to the drop-down menu, product instructions, and you'll find the product instructions for the turbo organized all here, the Hellview right below it, and then the AVI system, both the portable and the installed systems, all right here. You scroll all the way to the bottom. We're continuing to populate all of our webinars here. So we have recent webinars on the Aithre Illyrian 2, the Turbo O2i, and the Hellview 2 with ATD, and then a separate altitude safety webinar, and then using the iOS app with the AVI and Turbo oxygen system. So we'll continue to populate webinars here. Encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. The newsletter, occasionally we try to not pepper you with advertisements and that sort of thing, but it is a tool for us to reach you for updates on what products we have coming, as well as webinars. We try to keep it educational, and then any articles or safety briefings that we become aware of, we'd like to share them there. And you can sign up for the webinar, for the newsletter at the bottom of the homepage. Click on the bottom on the Aithre logo at the top, and then right here where it says sign in with your newsletter, enter your email, and that will sign you up very quickly. Thank you very much for joining, and I look forward to hearing from you over the phone or over email. Hope you found this helpful.